Hello students, this is Dr. Vic McCracken, and this is my response to your Monday Week 1 discussion. If this is your first time to see me on screen, aside from the short intro video in the home section, I want to say I hope that you have gotten off to a good start with your 3-week class with me. I'm looking forward to working with all of you. I've already been doing some communicating with you, but each day I'll be posting a video response to your discussion. I'll be giving all of you some general guidance through the course, and I envision this video lasting about 10 to 15 minutes. Of course, you'll see from the information on the instructions for today's class that you will be replying after you watch this video to my video response using this link right here. And I look forward to getting your response to the things I say. Before I get into the discussion, I do want to give you a few general points just from the first day in class. So first of all, number one, discussion grades. All of you have received a discussion grade for your first day's class, and I'll be grading your discussions promptly each day. Let me encourage you to read the rubric for grading. That's important. It will help you interpret what the numerical score means. The short of this is if you're consistently receiving a 4 out of 5 points, that's a sign you're doing good work. I have no problems with what you're contributing in the discussion each day. 5s are not automatic. In fact, very few students earn 5s each day. To earn a 5, you're going to have to go above and beyond expectation, and I'll explain to you in a moment how you can do that. If you meet minimal requirements, you'll get a 3, and if you fall below minimal requirements, you will earn less than a 3. If you fail to submit something that is required, you will earn a 0 score for the day. That includes if you fail to submit a response to the discussion. It also includes if you fail to reply to somebody in your group. Now, I've cut a little bit of slack on the first day because I know this is a new thing for all of you, but going forward, you got to make certain you complete all of the submission requirements on time, or you will not get credit for the daily contribution that you've made, and I do want you to get credit. A few other things about your responses that will help you with your discussion grade. I want you to make certain that your comments reflect a serious engagement with the readings. There were a few of you that submitted responses that after reading the response, I could not actually tell if you had read or watched the viewing assignment because you didn't include enough substance in your comments for me to see that, yeah, you're actually thinking about the readings that you have actually read. So you can't leave me guessing here. Also, you only have 500 to 700 words. You got to make your words count. So make certain that you are earnestly engaging the materials and that you're showing that by including comments about those readings in the daily discussion board. Also, if you're specifically looking for a way to really improve your grade from a 4, which I'm expecting all of you are capable of doing work to earn a 4 out of 5 points every day, if you want to figure out what I'm looking for that will move you from a 4 to a 5, a good place for you to look is in the response that you made to another member of your group. On Monday, there were many of you that responded, but basically your responses were, yes, I really agree with you when you said this, or I really like it whenever you said this, or this is really close to what I said when I said this here. And there's nothing wrong with agreeing, but agreeing doesn't advance the conversation in any way. It's like, where does the response go from there? And so if you're just agreeing with somebody, that's not going to push you from the 4 to a 5. What I'd rather see you do is I'd rather see you questioning one another. Find ways to disagree with one another. Do it respectfully, but disagree. There's going to be a lot that you're going to see in this discussion from day to day that you will disagree with. And I think it's going to be much more interesting, and it's much more engaging, and it furthers the conversation when you find things that you disagree with and then probe into those in your responses. Another thing that you can do, if somebody responds to you by disagreeing, replying to them in turn. I say you have to respond to at least one person But if you respond to more than one, or better yet, if somebody replies to you and then you reply to that person and then you get a back and forth going, those are the kinds of things that go above and beyond expectation. And those are the things that are going to really improve your discussion grade. So that's a few words of advice for you that will help you bring up your discussion grade if you're not happy with it from day one. There are still many points available, so if you didn't do well the first day, I would say make adjustments and you should see those grades improve. Another word, I have broken all of you into discussion groups. And if I do have any students drop this course, I may be shifting discussion groups. You might find yourself in a different group. I want to make certain there's a critical mass of students so that there are enough people for you to reply to. So be on the lookout for that. I might be making shifts if I do have any students drop. You will also notice this is the last logistics thing I will say. Position paper for today. All of you are required to submit a one-paragraph summary that identifies the topic of your position paper. So you got to select one of your topics if you're going to stick with one of the ones that you identified from Monday. And then also you got to clarify, you're going to narrow down to a specific position that you're going to defend. Let me encourage you, you only have 6 to 8 pages for this paper, so you're going to need to focus very narrowly on the position that you're going to focus on. So you can't write an entire paper on healthcare reform. Healthcare reform, you could write an entire book about that. You're going to have to look at one specific piece of healthcare, maybe something related to the Affordable Care Act, or maybe you focus on a specific piece of the new healthcare reform plan that is currently working its way through the legislature. That level of specificity, getting very narrow and focused on one narrow thing, that's an important thing for you to do that will help you be more successful with that paper. I'll be helping you do that by giving you feedback on your submission on Tuesday. Of course, I'll be doing that after the due date. So let me close out this video by focusing on your Tuesday response. I enjoyed following the conversations that all of you had about Utopia. I hope you guys enjoyed the Star Trek episode and the short story. Now, rather than reply to every individual in every group, I'm going to try to generalize some things that I heard across all of the discussions and then raise a few things for you to think about as you move forward in this class. I'm going to begin by focusing on a comment that Madison made because I think her comment reflects something that I saw among many of your comments. This is what Madison said, among other things. She said, God gave us free will, which means we have the opportunity to make bad choices. The world began with a utopian society in the Garden of Eden, but a simple serpent said a few words. Eve made her choice, and they were kicked out of Eden. Sin entered the world, and all future opportunities for utopia on earth were obliterated. So the thing I want to pick up on from Madison's comment is this idea that utopia is an impossibility. It's not something that we could actually have in the real world. And there were many of you that said something along these lines, that utopia is impossible. So it seems that most of us in this class agree that a perfect society is not achievable in this world. Many of you talked about human selfishness, you talked about conflict, you saw these as inevitable barriers to the achievement of a perfect society. And some of you employed language along the lines of Madison, the language of sin. This is Christian language to describe the obstacle that we face to perfection. And this makes a lot of sense to me as well. Maybe utopia is not achievable in this world. But I want you to consider another possibility. If we can all agree that perfection is out of reach, might it be possible for us to work together to create a better society than the one that we already have? This is what we're going to be focusing on in this class. In this class, we're going to be studying different visions of a just society. Now, let's be clear, just societies are not utopias. Just society still has the challenges and still struggles with the problems of sin and selfishness. Nevertheless, the idea of justice points us to consider what actually is achievable within the limits of this world that we inhabit. We're going to be spending a lot of time exploring this big question over the coming weeks. So that's thing number one. Here's thing number two in reply to your discussion. There's a tension that I want to point to in some of the comments that you made about your respective visions of utopia. So some of you envisioned a community in which everyone believes the same thing. So for example, Chelsea said that for her ideal society, she assumes that we would rely on Christian belief and laws that are currently set for America. Josh is another example. Josh wrote that in his utopia, Josh actually argued the opposite. I'll move away from Josh. Grant's the one I wanted to pull out. Grant said, in my utopia world, I would create a society that bases itself upon the fruits of the Spirit. As followers of Christ, we are told to live according to the fruits of the Spirit. So Chelsea, Grant, a few others noted this idea that utopia needs shared belief, people believing things in common. But there were others of you who argued that a utopia is characterized not by shared beliefs, but by diversity. So, for example, Irene made some very interesting comments. One of the things that she noted in her vision of utopia is that her utopia would encourage what she calls sexual freedom. Josh says that in his utopia, any religion is allowed so long as it does not fall under anything that can harm others or causes any form of pain. So here's my question to all of you. Which of these is it? Do ideal communities require conformity, or do they create space for individuals to speak and act according to their own deeply held beliefs? Is it possible for us to even reconcile these two things? I want you to consider how many real-world challenges today revolve around this question. We have all sorts of public policy debates about homosexuality, prostitution, religious practice in schools, and all of these are issues that exemplify this challenge. Should communities embrace conformity and common belief, or should they allow for diversity? So that's my second comment. Here's my third. Some of you suggested that a utopia should be governed by biblical principles. And clearly, for many of us, our religious faith informs how we think about community. And this is good, but my idea is that when we dig beneath the surface, we're going to quickly begin discovering that even followers of Jesus don't agree about what an ideal society looks like. I want you to consider this question, for example. Should Christians impose biblical law on non-Christians? There certainly are some Christians who believe that we should. But on the other hand, there are other Christians who are skeptical that forcing people to live according to Christian dictates is the way that Jesus' followers should engage the world. So the relationship between Christian faith and politics is a controversial one, and it's going to be a source of ongoing conversation in our class. So let me point out or get to my final comment. Finally, this is my fourth point. Your readings for today invite you to consider two sources critical to community life: law and tradition. What is the purpose of law? In the Star Trek episode, law serves as a hedge against social anarchy. It's a way to ensure that people live within proper boundaries, quite literally in the case of the Star Trek episode. So consider the real world. Why do we have laws that make prostitution illegal, or that require people to pay taxes, or that mandate school attendance? Many of you noted in your post that we need laws in order for society to exist. But the Edo community demonstrates that most of us believe there are proper limits to laws. Notably, a number of you in this class argued that we should not have laws that kill people whenever they break them. Others might say that killing people might be okay in some cases, but not in the case of accidental transgressions, even in the name of preserving social order. The Lottery, the short story that you read, is a very controversial short story, principally because our condemnation of the tradition of this idyllic community raises subversive questions about our own real-world communities, which similarly might be beholden to beliefs and practices about which we are no less blind. Consider that in the 20th century, many Americans took for granted that racial minorities were culturally and intellectually inferior, and Christians had no problems organizing societies that denied African Americans basic rights, even as they attended church and saw no conflict between their faith and their racism. The lottery invites us to consider the ways that our own communities might be just as blind as the one about which we read. And it also begs us to consider the ways that our own communities might themselves depend on the sacrifice of the unlucky for the sake of the rest of us. And I'm going to leave that comment hanging over you. I hope that you've had a good start to this course. I look forward to reading your replies to my video.